All right, welcome to the Way to the Truth cast. I thought I would tonight invite you into my home and we could watch Tucker Carlson together. His coverage of the DNC. And so I have coined a phrase. It's called Camellia for Kamala Harris. She is a killer and she's a chameleon. But more than that, there's also something that I have coined that I believe is true, is that they are communist, psychopath, lying Democrats. And so you're going to see that tonight as we watch Tucker. So I'm going to sit back and watch him. He's going to do some commenting, and so is I love the guy that he has on tonight, so we'll watch him.
Welcome to Thursday night at the DNC. The problem with watching stuff like this alone in your rec room, assuming it still exists, is you get mad and there's only the dog to talk to. And you really need an outlet for the emotion that you feel as you watch the display we're watching right now. And so we were just absolutely grateful to have our friend Jason Whitlock come all the way here to our isolation chamber to join in the torture. And we are going to be live for the duration through Kamala Harris's speech tonight, assessing what we're watching here. We seem to be in the middle of a segment entitled Freedom from Gun Violence. There are isolated tight shots on pretty women in tears in the crowd. They're basically making the case that as they have spiked the crime rate, you have no right to defend yourself. But they're not quite phrasing it that way, are they?
No, they're just telling you how much better life would be if there were no guns.
Yeah.
Without telling you how much less freedom
Whitlock is a hot mic.
Yeah.
without guns. And so they'll never give the full explanation.
They turn you
They just
down.
want to pull at your heartstrings to start off the night of Kamala.
But it's just crazy that the entire platform really comes down to, at this point, eliminating the First and Second Amendments to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Basically like getting rid of civil liberties and these kind of pesky speed bumps on the way to one-party rule.
Tucker, you're forgetting. That's all a part of saving democracy. Getting rid of the First and Second Amendment is how you save democracy, Tucker.
And by saving democracy, you mean make everyone who disagrees with what we're doing shut up or go to prison.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's such a level of democracy. That's what George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, that's what they fought for. This is the democracy that it's taken us 250 years to get here, where we can actually have what the founding fathers wanted us to have.
Which is just total robotic obedience. What's interesting is, we've been sitting here chatting, kind of half watching this for the past hour, and it's, it really is daytime television. It is kind of Oprah. I mean, it's well produced. There are lots of pretty women on stage, kind of making you feel emotive and empathetic and all that. But there's a harder edge to it. We just saw a sheriff from somewhere get up in full sheriff's outfit with the hat and the epaulets, his gun belt on, taking a partisan position. And then very soon, in like 6 minutes, we're going to see the former CIA director, Leon Panetta, up there. And it's like, should people who control public agencies that are heavily armed feel it's appropriate to get up and make a partisan pitch on behalf of a candidate?
The sheriff that was there, does he represent his entire sheriff's department?
Well, exactly.
Is everybody in his sheriff's department on board with that? I would tend to think not. I would think law enforcement probably skews a bit more Republican than this guy, but they allowed him to get up in full uniform and give that speech. It's preposterous to me. It's not quite what I think the founders envisioned,
but also it's like, it kind of shows you they're not against guns, actually. I mean, as long as they're taking guns away, I'd like to take his away, like immediately.
they got a lot of guns.
They got a lot of guns. CIA has a lot of guns.
No, just right outside their convention to keep the protesters at bay, they got a full military out there.
Of course. So they're really not against guns. They're not envisioning a world without guns. They're envisioning a world in which they have a total monopoly on guns.
No question about it. Because these elites will all be tucked away someplace safe in a gated community, guarded by guns, and the rest of us will have to fend for ourselves.
But can I just ask you, why does the anti-gun control people, the NRA, I've sent a lot of money to over the year. I'm a life member because I'm a hunter and a shooter and all that. I believe in the Second Amendment. But I never heard any of them make the obvious point, like, why does the left get all the guns? I mean, why should Kamala Harris or Nancy Pelosi have bodyguards with automatic weapons if I can't have an automatic weapon? Why should I pay for their weapons while they strip me of mine? Like, no one ever said that.
No, someone made the argument to me 6 months ago, and I can't fully articulate it off the top of my head, but someone complained to me that the NRA actually was full opposition,
Oh, yeah.
and that they weren't really serious about defending our gun rights. And so it was actually my friend Lucas with the T-Rex
Yeah.
that kind of educated me on this. And so I'm not surprised that the NRA didn't make common sense arguments.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we're going to have gun control, let's apply it equally. Because this is a country in which equal justice is the foundation of our system, right? And so if I can't have a gun, then neither can you. I mean, I don't know if we're going to get rid of all guns. Is there any nuclear disarmament scheme that allows, certain countries to have all the nuclear weapons they want, but no one else to have? No, of course not. Nuclear disarmament means everyone gets rid of their nukes. So why is that not true for gun control?
Well, because there's a special group of people that are better than the rest of us,
Yeah.
and they're smarter than the rest of us. And look, maybe they are, because they're having a lot of success with their message. I mean, I gotta give the guy over at CNN a lot of credit. Scott Jennings, I believe is his
Yeah.
name, when he points out, like, man, they're doing a lot of whining and complaining when they've held the White House for 12 of the last 16 years. And Donald Trump, his 4 years allegedly destroyed America. Well, what about the other 12 years? And it's like they have a lot of power to be doing all of this whining about how one guy, and that was always my argument even in 2016. I was like, at most, the guy's going to be in power for 8 years. What can he do in 8 years? And now I kind of feel silly because I've seen what Joe Biden could accomplish in 4 years.
That's a good point.
And you can do
You
it.
come back.
And he had brain damage.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine what a fully functioning person could do.
That is my larger point about everything we're seeing at the DNC and everything we're seeing from the mainstream media. Right now, Tucker, we have no president.
If your
and
partner
everybody's
doesn't get
fully
killed,
aware
come
of
back.
that Joe Biden goes
Like
to
in
bed
battle,
at 4, 5, 6 in the afternoon, maybe does one thing a day. We don't have a president. And that's why running Kamala Harris, who's unqualified for the position, it doesn't matter because they're making it clear to everybody that there's puppet masters behind the scenes that actually run the country. You don't need a president. You need a malleable
That's right.
person. And so they're making it very clear that's, I think, why they ran Joe Biden off. There's a message here. That's why all of these DNC people, they're in this cult, they're like, it doesn't really matter who's president. Other people are making the decisions. So why not let Kamala, why not let black women have a turn at the wheel? They're not really driving the car, they're just sitting in the seat. So this is harmless. Putting Kamala in this position is harmless because we know the CIA, the FBI, other central bankers actually run the country. So DEI makes perfect sense. It's their turn. They get to sit in the seat and pretend that they're president, while other people. And that's why, even if you don't like Trump, you have to acknowledge he's uncontrollable,
Right.
and that's why he's dangerous.
Exactly.
Because he won't sit in the car without occasionally like, no, I want to drive the wheel. Let's,
Yeah.
let me take a turn in this.
And not even that far outside the lanes.
Yes,
either.
yes, but they want us all comfortable and all in line. It doesn't matter who the president is. That's what Joe Biden's job was to do, to diminish the office, and he's done that. He's diminished it to a level that we got half the country or a nice portion of the country that said, well, this San Francisco side piece can actually be president. It's
that
insanity.
Well, I wonder, it's such a smart point.
Is
and
that
true?
big?
I think what you said is 100% true. So I wonder
Mm.
if we're not
Yeah, that's
foolish too for kind of falling for it and investing all this emotional
Performer
energy
pain.
in Kamala Harris. I mean, I agree with you. I don't take her seriously enough to get too worked up because I don't think she has any power at all. I think she's a bystander, actually. But a lot of people are sort of falling for this, and they're misallocating their rage. It's not Kamala Harris just was in the right place at the right time. Who's controlling our government? Like, those are the people who should be in trouble, in my opinion.
And Trump, again, I know he tweets a lot, who knows, but the inference, I think I read this week where Trump said, that, hey, I would be willing to make RFK CIA director. That's a revolutionary thought that scares the hell out of everybody. You'll never hear anything like that come out of Kamala Harris's mouth. What she says, no, I'll keep in place whoever they tell me to keep in place, and I'll never complain about anything. Donald Trump being a loose cannon, which sometimes frustrates me, but it's actually his number one strength. We're in a time right now where the matrix and the system wants to control everything, and there's one billionaire out there that says, you know what, I'm willing to dodge bullets, risk my life, and sit in this chair and fight and wrestle with them about who gets to drive the car all the time. And I love it that he's crazy and uncontrollable, even though it frustrates me. I wish he took direction a little bit sometimes, sometimes, but it's like, no, we gotta have someone who's uncontrollable in this
exactly right
in this spot, or nothing gets done.
What would happen if he appointed Bobby Kennedy CIA director? No, I mean seriously. Then you like crossing the wires on the battery, it just gets so hot it explodes at a certain point.
I unfortunately, and I say this in seriousness and in sadness, it would, RFK and Trump, their lives are already in jeopardy, but they would have to be eliminated immediately, post haste. I mean, it
does feel that way.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that if you'd said that to me like 5 years ago, I mean, I remember you coming on my old show and saying a couple things, and I was like, whoa, that's too far out for me. But I never forgot them, and it turned out you were right.
That's why I like Jason Whitlock.
And I've admired you ever since. But anyway, the point is, if you had said that about CIA 5 years ago, I'd been like, I like Jason Whitlock, but he's kind of far out. Now, subsequent events have confirmed that, and yet both parties put the former CIA
Our
director
wildest
on stage
imaginations
during their
are
conventions. Mike Pompeo, the CIA director, who tried to assassinate Julian Assange illegally, and now Leon Panetta, the former CIA director, is coming to the DNC. I mean, they're not kind of pretending. Like, who would put a former CIA director on stage at a political convention?
A group that is not supposed to have any domestic
At all.
involvement at all, but they're front and center at both conventions. It speaks to just how in control the deep state is, and they're not keeping it a secret. The whole point of embarrassing Joe Biden, and we blame the Obamas, blame blah blah blah. No, it's actually the system. They want it revealed to us that president's just a symbolic position. Go ahead and let Kamala have his turn. Black people, women will be happy, and we broke a glass ceiling, and all of that. Have that celebration. But the reality is, we run this. You need to be satisfied with this, as long as we keep giving you these symbols to be happy about. And we can see it here. This group at the DNC in Chicago is very happy and very content with that.
What's interesting is that this is the last question, then I want to go to what we've seen this week. I haven't even following it, but most people who are in control of things want credit for being in control of things. They do want a little fame to go along with their power. The people who actually run Washington, and certainly who run the Biden administration, seem to have no interest at all in even telling you who they are. Like, I'm from Washington, and I've asked a million people, who's really running the government? You don't get the same answer. I don't know anyone who knows.
Smart people never want the fame or the credit. They want the money and the power.
Yeah, that's right.
The Rothschilds want the money and the power.
That's right. No, you're right. I mean, you're obviously dealing with people who are smarter than the average bear, for sure.
Yeah, I listen, and you live long enough, and I think we both have, where wouldn't you be much happier if no one knew you and you made a bunch of money? Yeah.
Yes. I had dinner with my nephew last night, actually, and it's one of my favorite relatives. He's in his early 20s, and I got hassled in the restaurant in a nice way, but he really resented it, and he said, Uncle Tucker, I know one thing I'm never going to be is famous. I said, you're a smart boy. Yeah, it's not, it's not worth it's a prize not worth winning, for sure. So what jumped out at you this week?
The number one thing that jumped out at me is the other thing they're coming out of the closet with, and I wouldn't even say coming out of the closet, but this is a religious, racial revival cult.
Right.
That we're seeing Kamala, Michelle Obama, Oprah Winfrey, the three biggest stars of Black womanhood, have been celebrated and worshipped like a religious figure. And that's what the Democrat Party is. And it reminds me of, Tucker, Jim Jones and the People's Temple, and how this charismatic minister transitioned into this Marxist leader who talked 500-600 people into going to the jungles in Guyana, and then they all killed themselves. And people don't realize this, but I think 65% of the people that Jim Jones talked into going out in that jungle were Black women. And that's what you're seeing here. I consider Barack Obama Jim Jones. He's the charismatic leader, and he's talked a bunch of Black women and others, guilt-ridden white people, into salvation through the worship of skin color and Black skin color and Black women. That's where your salvation comes from. And when I look at the clips and I've watched a lot of this, when Michelle Obama spoke, and you could you could see Black women in the audience. It was like catching the Holy Ghost. That they were emotionally overcome because Michelle Obama's speaking, and I'm listening to it, and it's not. I don't like Michelle Obama, but I am a very fair and objective person. Her speech wasn't any good. And everybody on the media, and I've seen a lot of people over social media, like, oh my God, it was an incredible speech. It's like, no, it wasn't. The best speaker they've had this week is Raphael Warnock, an actual minister.
Yeah, preacher.
Yeah, he gave a great speech. I disagreed with all of it, but his delivery, cadence, what he actually had to say, there was tiny bits of substance to it. He was the best speaker. But they all pretended like it was Michelle Obama who said nothing. Barack really didn't say anything.
Can we play a clip for those who missed Michelle's speech? I think we have a clip of her. Here's part of what she said.
Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hardworking, highly educated, successful people who happen to be Black. That the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those Black jobs.
It's funny, I heard that and it felt so antique. I haven't heard anyone call Trump a racist in a while because it hasn't worked. But do you think she means that?
Yeah, I think she knows that it works.
Yeah.
And it does work. Particularly with Black women and with guilt-ridden white people. It works. That is their main tenet of their religion, is that anybody that opposes us, anybody that disagrees with our worldview is evil and racist. Like someone like me who disagrees with them, who's both parents Black, most of my friends Black, but I'm an Uncle Tom and a sellout because I disagree with them. I'm not part of the Black religious cult.
Because you disagree with Barack Obama
Yes.
from Punahou?
Yeah, and I'm telling Barack Obama is someone like Jim Jones who pretended to be a Christian, really a Marxist, got into office and started executing his Marxist worldview, set up all this division, justified all of this identity politics and division through race, and her speech is the kind of speech that Jim Jones used to give. He played on the victimhood mentality of Black women and painted this narrative about how unfair America's been, you've been oppressed, and if we can just get you out to this jungle in Guyana, we're gonna build this utopia. And they get out there and this dude's a sexual freak.
Back to the jungle.
And they all hate it there, it's miserable there, and then he talks them into killing themselves or he kills them. this will sound, it's the kind of thing I say that gets me into trouble, but black women are delusional. They've been worshipped for far too long. If you even, I listened to a lot of R&B music growing up and still listen to some of it now, but now I hear it with different ears. The music is so laced with worship of black women that we don't even realize how much we've been programmed to worship women and black women in particular. And this is why idolatry is such a dangerous force. The only thing worthy of worship, because many of these black worshipers of Michelle Obama and the Democratic Party think they're actually worshiping Jesus Christ. And the tenets of Christianity and Jesus, you should have no idols but me. Anything that you put in front of me, the only thing worthy of worship is me, but we're worshiping black women as black men, and that's why so many black men, we know this stuff is wrong, but we've been so programmed to worship black women, worship our mothers, that we think we're selling out our mothers and black women if we stand on what we really believe, what's in our nature. We should be patriarchs, we should be leaders, we should not be subservient to women. That's in every man's DNA and nature. It's been programmed out of us, and you can best see it at this cult-like deal they got going on here. This is a cult. This is racial idolatry and just worship of the wrong thing. We all of America has it backwards. It's most acute, though, I think, with black people, and it's most powerful with black people because so many white people, liberal white people, are trained to feel sorry, and they all believe they have this incredible privilege. And let me prove I'm not racist by going along with things that I really don't believe in. And then the other part, I'm sorry for going on and on about
No, it's
this.
such a sick and sad and recognizable dynamic, though.
No, you're telling
The other part of this is the child sacrifice of abortion.
Yeah.
This is the other religious aspect of it, and it's a psychological aspect of it. When they preach to you sexual promiscuity and sexual liberation, what they've done is they've taught young people, men and women, to get involved with sex well before they're ready, well before they should, and more promiscuously than they ever should. And so young people get pregnant earlier. And so once a woman has an abortion, that's a life-altering, mind-altering event. Even for the women that are out there defending it, it changes them. And so this whole child sacrifice abortion thing is why they have that abortion truck out there, the ice cream truck that they're called the abortion truck, and they're sitting out in front of the DNC. That's an incredible hook in women to stick with the Democrat Party, because if you support the Democrat Party, you can play the mind game of there's nothing wrong with abortion. What do you mean? Everybody does it. It's not a big deal. If you jump to the other party that's against abortion, you have to acknowledge that you did something wrong, and that women aren't willing to do that en masse. They're not willing to repent. And men that have paid for abortions or pressured women into abortions, they don't want to admit, hey, I just was an accessory to murder. And so they support the Democrat Party because they take, no, that's not murder. That's some tissue that, you flush down the toilet.
So you're saying that one of the reasons people are so attached to abortion, well beyond its medical significance, well beyond its social significance, is because they're implicated in it themselves.
Yes,
I
and
think that's right.
you can't have a human being growing inside of you, know what that feels like, and then eliminate it, and then just think, that was just a bunch of tissue. That baby's moved around in the womb. The woman's her mind's been inalterably changed, and I say that, I want to be crystal clear here, and not give myself, I want people to understand exactly who I am. 20 years ago, I impregnated a friend of mine, and she disappeared on me, and circled back a year later, and told me she had an abortion. That we went out drinking, came back to my place, had sex, she got pregnant, she went home, or back to her family, ended up having an abortion, called me a year later, and she was devastated, breaking this news to me, and just had to share it with me. I was shocked at how devastated I was, and but I could. It was far more devastating for her than because she made the decision without any input from me. She carried the baby for whatever length of time, but I could just hear the pain. She made a decision that a year later she still couldn't overcome, had to share with me, was still emotional about it. And that's how I know that this abortion thing, it's not something that you do and then you just move on from. Even the women gyrate in the street and abortion this, abortion that, they're all faking it. They all know what they did and they're all in denial. They don't want to, whoever, I was gonna reference O.J. Simpson, but again, it's like O.J. Simpson, someone just lying about their crimes or whatever. That's what they're doing, and they feel like they have no choice but to stick with the Democratic Party because they helped them stay in that lie.
That's right.
That there was nothing here.
Because it's too horrible to face.
Yes.
And I know plenty of women who have faced it and really been crushed by it.
Yes.
You know.
And the important thing for people listening here, your audience, there is salvation through repentance. God will forgive that. You just have to repent from it. And that's, they don't want you.
He preaches
They
every
want
time he
you.
goes outside for girls.
Oprah Winfrey said out there's no American dream without abortion. Are you kidding me?
Well, let's play that. Actually, I think we have that tape. Here's Oprah on abortion.
If you do not have autonomy over this, if you cannot control when and how you choose to bring your children into this world and how they are raised and supported, there is no American dream.
There's no American dream without abortion. That to me sounds like a woman that's had an abortion. I don't know, but that's what it sounds like to me. And
Well, it's such a grotesque and crazy thing to say that clearly it's coming from somewhere.
yeah. I did nothing wrong. You know how hard it is for people to admit they did something wrong?
Yes, I do.
It's
Firsthand.
Over innocent things, we have a hard time admitting we're
Yeah.
wrong. Could you imagine something like that and having to admit that you're wrong? It's nearly impossible.
Well, how did you feel when you found out that a woman you'd impregnated had an abortion?
I was shocked, obviously, and it haunted me on a daily basis. I would think for the next year, on a daily basis. I think about it all the time and talk about the importance of the pro-life movement, and I'm partnered with a Preborn. It's an organization that helps women that are considering abortion or whatever. It's one of my life's passions now is to support the pro-life movement as part of my repentance and as part of admitting my involvement and not running from it, because even though it wasn't my decision, I participated in the immoral behavior, the irresponsible behavior that in this era with all the contraceptive things we have,
Yeah.
it's just incredibly irresponsible. It's a big deal. It's part of my life mission now, and so it's still a big deal.
How did you get over it?
How did I get over it? I'm not 1,000% sure I am over it because there's so many other irresponsible things about my life that took me away from the goals I had in life. I'm 57, Tucker. I don't have a kid. So that's a mistake on my part, a big mistake on my part. And so the only kid that I created, got killed. And it hurt the woman, it hurts me, and I'm sitting here thinking, oh my God, this boy or girl would be the joy of my life, and I denied myself that through irresponsible behavior, through immoral behavior. And so you get over, the better I get with God and my relationship and my faith, the more I get over it, because I know God has forgiven me and I know that I'm taking
Well, to be
steps.
that honest about it
Yeah.
and that direct and just say what you just said, which kind of blew me back. You know, obviously you do have a relationship with God. I don't think you could say that otherwise.
Yeah. So, you know, I think I've repented and will continue to repent for it. And so I feel good. And it's part of my story. And I think I get a chance to share it and try to educate other people from not making the same mistakes.
Did she recover?
I'm not sure. And I don't want to go further.
Of course.
The only reason why I say this is because she recently contacted me. And I haven't had the conversation with her, and I would think she's circling back to me on that. I would think, but haven't had the conversation yet to know. But I think she has, because you know, I don't want to go too far, but you know, she seems pretty happy, has kids, married, so I think so. But
Gosh. It does seem like all of a sudden abortion went from one of the things Democrats were for to the thing Democrats are for. And it seems like a pretty weird thing to put at the center of your program when the birth rate among native-born Americans is below replacement.
it keeps them in power, though, Tucker.
Camellia
They're not running on policy.
likes killing people.
They're not talking about policies all this week. They're running on emotional manipulation. They're running on racial idolatry. Feel good about yourself. Hey, you're not racist. Come vote for us. And black people will give you these symbolic jobs. And we're the party that worships your skin color and thinks you're special. And then this abortion thing is central to their. It's as central as their illegal immigration plan. You get young people involved with sex at an earlier and earlier age. That means they're going to be involved with abortion at an earlier and earlier age. They've run the stats and the numbers. I guarantee you, women that have had an abortion are 10 times more likely to vote Democrat than women that haven't. And so they have this down to a science. They know exactly what they're doing. And they wouldn't be out running on this abortion issue if they didn't know it hooked voters into their platform.
Well, I think you're exactly right. Because of course, it's about the fortunes of the party, it's about political power. Let me circle back to something you just said a second ago about racial idolatry, worshiping black people's skin color, or pretending to.
Yeah.
First of all, how sincere do you think that is? And second, what does it feel like to be the object of that? As you were saying that, I hadn't really thought of it that way, but if someone did that to me, it would make me super uncomfortable. I wouldn't like it.
I don't get the worship. No one worships me.
No, I know. In fact,
So
the opposite.
I don't get to enjoy the benefits of that because I reject it and call out everybody. So I don't know how it feels. I know as a Christian how blinding it is to truth.
Yeah.
And it's like what you can't see the truth of black people should look and go, man, 80 years ago we were 12.5% of the population, and now we're 13% of the population, and we support a party where our women are more likely to visit Planned Parenthood and have an abortion than any other demographic. We're killing more babies through abortion than everybody else, and our percentage of American population is stagnant. We're seeing Hispanics through illegal immigration and through having babies surpass us. We're seeing Asians start to catch up with us. And so if we remove the racial idolatry, we could see the suicide that we're committing by following this party. But because we're so caught up in skin color, we can't see the truth. That none of the things that they're suggesting for us actually leads to our advancement. It actually leads to our destruction. But you're so caught up, blinded by, man, we gotta look at Barack Obama, black president, and Kamala Harris, black, Indian, Asian, whatever, president. That little
Everything, brother.
hook, that little piece of symbolism is more important than actually, hey, why isn't someone talking about restoring the black family so that our kids will perform better academically, will be far less likely to get involved with law enforcement, and criminality. Why aren't they promoting that? But they're actually behind a group called Black Lives Matter that wants to destroy the nuclear family. And there's all this data that says family structure is the key to everything. Mama and daddy in the home is the key to everything. The data says all this. You have all these facts, but no, this group of people have told me that that's white patriarchy, that's white evangelicals, and you know, family's no good. You know, you need to be a single mama out here, or you need to be in some lesbian relationship out here. That there's in the history of the world, the nuclear family is undefeated. If you're going to build a civilization, a successful, well-organized, safe, where your kids develop and advance rather than regress, it's the foundation is man, woman, child, and God. But we're rejecting that because we've been brainwashed into this Marxist cult of, you know, well, no, you're not kissing black women's butts enough. Oh, you mispronounced Kamala Harris's name. That's racist. That's disrespectful. You mispronounced her name. And we go for it. And look, they're paying a lot of people to sit on TV, and they're paying a lot of influencers to come and promote the message. Oprah, you know, Little John, the rapper, you know, he and everybody, and we're going for it. But
it's interesting. So that they're selling abortion, strong women, but they're also selling, and this I guess is inevitable, weak men.
yes,
And they just kind of said it. The white dudes for Kamala or for Harris was my favorite political meetup of all time. You know, it was every guy with a man bun and
yeah,
kind of bad skin and a self-hating attitude. They were all there together. We're about to see, this is an actress, Eva Longoria. We're about to see a guy called Adam Kinzinger, he's coming up next, and he was a Republican congressman from Illinois, dropped out, retired, and became a Democrat. What do you know about Kinzinger, and isn't he kind of the archetype of the man they're looking for?
I don't know much about Kinzinger other than his role in January 6th.
Yeah.
And he and Liz Cheney, they're repulsive people to me. But I don't know all the details on him. I know he's a harsh critic of Trump and the MAGA movement.
Well, he's the guy who famously started sobbing in a committee hearing about something. I don't know exactly what it was, but he's the guy. I want to play a clip for you. You've probably seen this from CNN. Here's Dana Bash, their kind of resident political genius. Oh wow, look at that. Describing the kind of men Democrats are trying to recruit for this cycle. Watch this.
But they are doing so in trying to put forward male figures, Tim Walz being one of them, Doug Emhoff last night, who can speak to men out there who might not be the sort of testosterone-laden, you know, gun-toting kind of guy who wants to listen to Hulk Hogan and the kind of player that came out of the RNC, or might want to listen to that, but also, in addition, understand that it's okay in 2024 to be a man comfortable in his own skin who supports a woman.
It's important to be a beta in 2024. Okay, so that's the prelude. That's Eva Longoria. Looks pretty good, I have to say. Sorry, I have
Looks
to say.
very good.
Yeah, she does. No, it's true. That was here. Let's hear this. Let's hear this. This is Adam Kinzinger, probably the most repulsive member of Congress. You know, in
Which
30 years
one?
of watching I've ever seen.
Eva
Let's take this.
Longoria
Yes.
and Pink.
Thank you.
Pink is like
I'm Adam Kinzinger, and I am proud to be in the trenches with you.
Harley Quinn. She's like
As
a real life
part of
Harley
this
Quinn.
sometimes awkward alliance that we have to defend truth, defend democracy, and decency. I was just a kid when I was drawn to the party of Ronald Reagan. to his vision of a strong America, the shining city on a hill. I was a Republican for 12 years in Congress, and I still hold on to the label. I never thought I'd be here, but listen, you never thought you'd see me here, did you? But I've learned something about the Democratic Party, and I want to let my fellow Republicans in on the secret. The Democrats are as patriotic as us. They love this country just as much as we do. And they are as eager to defend American values at home and abroad as we conservatives have ever been. I was relieved to discover that because I've learned something about my party too. Something I couldn't ignore. The Republican Party is no longer conservative. It has switched its allegiance from the principles that gave it purpose to a man whose only purpose is himself. Donald Trump is a weak man pretending to be strong.
Okay, that's all I can handle. Look, there are lots of things you can say about Trump. I've said some of them. Trump is, mercurial, disappointing in some ways, but he's not a pussy. I mean, let's just be honest. He was shot in the face and got up. Please.
Yeah.
Why are they trying to tell me that?
Yeah, pretending to be tough. No, I think when you get shot in the face and get up and say fight, you have a right to claim.
I think you do actually, and I think every man, every boy, when if something like that happened to me, if I was in a war, and I got shot, like how would I? And I think every normal boy wants to believe that you would, you'd have the stones to act like that. But you don't know until it happens.
Adam Kissinger, and I've seen him before, and I know it, but I don't know the details. But he's part of what they would love for you to think here is Tim Walz was a great high school football coach, and Adam Kissinger played linebacker for Tim Walz. Yeah. That's what it is.
Wow, that might have happened actually, if you know what I mean.
That's what they're trying to convey here. But at the end of the day, what he represents and what Donald Trump clearly upsets traditional establishment Republicans and politicians is Donald Trump's not a globalist, and all of these people are globalists, and that's why there were rumors that over Twitter put little stock into that George Bush might come and speak at the DNC tonight. That was Don Lemon threw that out there, and other people picked up on it, and it wouldn't surprise me if he did, because all of these globalists hate Donald Trump,
of course,
and that's. Adam Kissinger represents that, status quo, business as usual, stay the course with globalism. We've been going down this road basically since 1913. Why stray the course? And
who cares about your nephew who OD'd on fentanyl? What you really need is a new war with Iran.
Yes.
And I don't think there are a lot of people who want that, actually.
No.
So what I'm struck by is that this whole program, I mean, you've said, I think perceptively, it's not about the issues. But if you were just to strip away all the theatrics and all the heartstring tugging and Adam Kinzinger crying and all that stuff, you really get to a program that, I don't know what percentage of the population wants that. Let's give the banks more power. I don't think people want that.
Well, they certainly, and this again, it's I'm sitting here, we're at the conclusion of the DNC, or very close to the conclusion. Have they talked about we're at the brink of World War III? Have they?
No, they support that.
Nobody does,
Okay, well, defend it then.
Come
out and say
exactly.
Come out and say, hey, this is why we need to perhaps get a nuclear war over Iran, over Ukraine and Russia. Come out and talk. But we are at the brink of that.
Oh, literally.
So you have to discuss it and say, what is your game plan? How are we going to win? How many lives are we willing to lose? over this. What happens if there is nuclear? That's an amazing catastrophe. Instead, we're getting rappers and Eva Longoria and Oprah Winfrey and a bunch of, hey, this guy's a racist. We're not talking about something that could dramatically change every life on the planet.
Yeah, because I mean, there's really no climate change like through nuclear wars.
Maybe that's why they're for it.
I don't know.
If we make nuclear war would probably change the climate
Well, I think
and
there's
justify
there's no question.
See,
it
we
would.
told you. We told you.
I don't think wind farms are going to do much good after that exchange. No, it's interesting though. I mean, I think it speaks to the spiritual nature of this conflict, this cold civil war underway in the United States. Anybody, I don't care what party you're in, who's pushing us toward nuclear war there's no justification for that ever. Period. I mean, you're on the dark side, like by definition.
You're definitely on the dark side, and if let's say we are on the brink, and this is why they won't talk about it. Who would you rather have, Donald Trump or Kamala Harris?
Well, of course.
Seated in it.
Camellia.
I'll go back to what I said originally. What they're arguing is like, yeah, Kamala will be just sitting there as a symbol. CIA, FBI, they'll actually be controlling what we do in a nuclear war.
Do you think that people care?
Some obviously do, or you and I wouldn't have an audience.
Yeah.
So some actually do, but most people, I just think, don't want to think that hard, there are no different than the abortion issue. Like, part of what the Democrat Party is saying is, you don't have to think about your problems, you don't have to address your problems, you don't have to concern yourself with these really weighty, heavy issues. We got that. Just trust us. And so they're giving you an excuse that, hey, you don't have to deal with the abortion of your baby. You were perfectly right with that. That there's no consequences to that. That there's nothing immoral about that. You don't have to think about, how this central bank control of everything and how war makes central bankers a bunch of money, and you don't have to don't worry about that. You'll get your rap music, we'll get you a free cell phone, you'll have internet service, your porn will be readily available, you'll be good. And just smoke some, we've legalized virtually every drug, we're normalizing every sexual perversion and impulse that you have. So, just have at it. Get high.
He read my mind.
Have all kinds of sex with whomever you want, and soon, if you're just patient enough with us, guys, you minor attracted people, we got something special coming down the line for you guys as well.
Clearly they do.
And so, man, it's just going to be awesome. Everybody will be, I'm sorry to say, but ejaculating everywhere, and you won't care that, your kids all have cancer from nuclear fallout, and you'll be dead anyway, so, just don't think about it.
Yeah, the virus did work, so the nuclear war will get rid of the excess
What do you
population.
think? We haven't talked about Tim Walz. What's the vibe you get off that guy?
Well, clearly I get just willing to say and be anything. And, he's a war hero that never went to war. He's a head football coach who was a volunteer assistant coach who, as a volunteer assistant, led the team to a state championship allegedly. His wife got pregnant through IVF when she didn't. And he's willing to stand on those lies. He did that yesterday.
Everything comes out of your mouths are
And
lies.
so that sounds like a great politician. The FBI, CIA, it's like, yeah, this guy will say anything. And
just another weak, hollow man
Yeah.
who will do the bidding of whoever's actually in charge.
and he'll literally, someone I saw made a great point over social media that it's like he and Kamala are a television sitcom. he's the dumb guy on all the television sitcoms,
Of course.
with the wife who's actually calling the shots, and so he fits that archetype, and that's all TV and these television. It's just all programming, getting you normalizing.
But why? I mean, what's the right? So that archetype has been around for 50 or 60 years, and it is the dominant archetype. There's almost no deviation from that. You know, every couple, to the extent there are still couples, is clever wife, dumb man. Why is that so important to portray that model?
Because they understand, the globalists, the people that want to reduce population, the people that want to install Marxism and communism, know that women instinctively will trade freedom for safety. And men will say, nah, you know what, I'm willing to die over this freedom. That's been the history of men.
Yes.
It's been, hey, we'll die over some freedom. And it's been the history of this country. And so if you empower women, now you have a group that's like, nah, I'd rather be safe than die. And I'm not criticizing women. That's it. If I was a woman, had a womb, and like you got a child that grows inside of you, my nature would be safety, safety, safety.
Yes.
And so, but that's why they're empowering women, because they know women will, there's no woman that will get shot in the ear and hop up 7-10 seconds later and say, fight, fight, fight. That the next word out of that woman's mouth will be, I'm resigning the presidency, so-and-so's in charge, or I'm dropping out, so-and-so. But men, you know, because we're stupid, and because God made us to be this way, we'll make the ultimate sacrifice. And anybody that runs for president knows, hey, there's probably some people that's gonna want to kill me, and if I do or say the wrong things, and that's how they just know. Kamala's going to stay strictly on script because she's not a man, and we're going to empower a bunch of weak men around her, and they're all going to have the same mentality. They're all going to choose safety over freedom, and that's why they don't. The Democrats don't understand the whole gun deal. It's like, no, if you're going to have a First Amendment and have freedom of speech and freedom of religion, you got to have the gun to keep the government from taking those two things from them.
That's right.
And men understand that, and they're willing to pull that trigger and just say, F it, I'm willing to die for this. You need that. You need it's the other thing that the Democrats, and I'm preaching, I've been leaning into this all year, I'm gonna lean into it all next year, is just run around telling men, and particularly white men, quit apologizing for being a man. We have nothing to apologize for.
That's for sure.
We, all of these luxuries that everybody enjoys, all of this technology that makes a woman think she doesn't need a man, we did it. We did it. If we take DoorDash away, more women will fall in line. And if we had to go, people had to go out and hunt, and that was the only way to eat, more women would follow, hey, you know what, I need a man. Because I don't want to, you know, there's some that like to hunt and do all that, but most would be like, nah, I need a man in this house because I don't want to do no hunting. I ain't going out there and doing that. But if all these luxuries, from cars to trains to planes, there were no Wright sisters. These were all men willing to die. You think they wasn't dangerous doing what the Wright brothers did? Building skyscrapers, being a roughneck and falling to your death and getting this, that was all men. Oh, and we need to quit all these things make perfect sense. Well, they've established a work environment that favors men. Well, let's go back to the 1800s, to say, and how these customs got started or whatever. There weren't women saying, you know what, I should be out plowing the fields more often than you. You know what? They were actually satisfied because, and you know what? When the Indians come to rape and pillage this house, you know, honey, let me get this. You stay back here and take care of the kids. No, they're like, hey, baby, you go do this. Obviously there were some that this didn't apply to, But overall, women thought, hey, this is a good deal. Go look at our life expectancies. Because we're risk takers and live more dangerous lives, we've sacrificed 7 to 8 years of life expectancy in deference to women. But we're running around apologizing like, oh man, we set up this totally unfair country and unfair system. And man, if George Washington and them had just done something different, Kamala Harris would have built the first airplane. Kamala Harris would have built the first skyscraper. Kamala Harris would have come up with DoorDash. I don't. Do you quit apologizing, men?
Do you know men who do apologize for being men?
Yeah, they're all on TV tonight.
They're all on TV tonight.
They're on CNN, they're on MSNBC, they're on Fox News, they're everywhere.
But can I just say, that I don't think women deep down like it. I don't. I don't think they're happy with a man who apologizes for being a man. I think they have contempt for him over time. I don't think that works.
But they're not disciplined enough to not demand it. I know women that want or think they want beta males.
Yeah.
Think that they want.
But don't they always end up hating him?
They end up divorcing them or
Yeah.
cheating on them or hooking up with some woman instead of them. It's like, why get half of a woman when you get the whole thing?
Yeah.
And so they end up just saying, hey, I don't need you. I can get a woman to do what I want. And they're unfulfilled and they create, look, matriarchal culture, the lab rats for that. It's the Black American community. And just quite honestly, our neighborhoods and are in chaos. They're overridden by men with no emotional control because they didn't have fathers in the home to teach them to think logically and what to do with their emotions. They've been raised by women, they got the physicality of men, they're emotional, they jump to violence too quick instead of other ways of playing the chess game. That's what they have in store. The black folks have been the lab rats for the matriarchy and the liberal movement, and they want it for everybody. And Kamala and Michelle Obama and Oprah Winfrey and everybody else that wants to break the glass ceiling. I'm just all this symbolism and just we're gonna make history. Some people are falling for it. They anything to make history. People want to be a part of history. No one wants to be a part. Let's be a part of progress. Let's be a part of sanity. Let's be a part of leaving something better for the next generation than what we had. That's what the previous generations were about. I mean, that's why we need to be thanking God for these people that made these incredible sacrifices for us to live in the freest place on earth, America. And instead, we're shitting on all these people.
Yes.
George Washington, he owned slaves. I get it. But the man was part of writing a document, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and all these that made it possible. And so instead of me looking back and being mad at them, I'm like, man, y'all created something great. And man, I went from a ghetto kid to a wealthy adult in this country. It couldn't have happened anyplace else. Thank God these people made these sacrifices, wrote these documents, and were willing to die for my freedom. And I know the Civil War is more complicated than that, but that was part of it. Read the Battle Hymn of the Republic and what they were singing. That was part of it. I'm thankful for our ancestors, celebrate them for the things they put in place. And then, just the whole mentality that people have that we're smarter than them. We are virtually retarded compared to them.
I think that's true.
They weren't having debates about can a man get pregnant?
No.
And we think we're smarter than them.
Right. Should we legalize fentanyl? That was not kind of on the table then.
We think that slavery is the ultimate sin, and it's murderous, and this child sacrifice and abortion. We're not more moral than they are. We're not. And I get, everybody's been programmed, oh my God, slavery. Slavery still goes on today. It's been a part of human history from the beginning. I'm not making light of it. It's bad.
Yeah.
But compared to ice cream trucks sitting outside the DNC saying, hey, come on in here and we'll kill your baby, that's insanity. And that's a level of immorality that's unmatched, unprecedented. This, I know baby sacrifice has been around for a long time, but it felt like at least people knew it was wrong then. And now it's a fundamental right. There is no American dream without it. There are running presidential campaigns on the right to kill babies. And we're smarter than that and better than that. I don't think so.
No, we're not. But Kamala Harris is, and she's about to, this is her intro video.
It is?
This is her intro video. And it's interesting, she's about to speak. We're going to take that for as long as we can bear. Are you temperamentally prepared for this?
I am ready. I've had enough of this old fashioned that I'm.
It's just interesting that, 60 days ago, 30 days ago, Kamala Harris was considered by everybody in the Democratic Party as a joke. Like, this was unimaginable in July, last month. Unimaginable. And now it's just like taken as a matter of course. Of course, it's Kamala's the great statesman of her time. Here she is, and with that, Kamala Harris.
So no Beyonce appearance?
Oh, she
That
slated?
was the big rumor.
I think she's smarter than me. Oh, there's a guy with a gun right behind her. Guns are bad! Right, okay. She gonna win?
We're gonna lose is how Are we gonna lose? Ask you that.
There's the man she kissed with the mask on. Her purported husband, Doug.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Willie Brown.
No, Willie has self-respect. I actually like Willie Brown, and he would never kiss her with the mask on.
What would be the point?
Well, exactly. Do you know Willie Brown?
No.
You'd like Willie Brown.
Really?
Yeah, he's just got a great sense of humor. Even if you disagree with everything about him, but he's hilarious. She looks happy. The stepdaughter.
And that look actually looked like I can't stand this.
I know, exactly. The funny thing is, I hate to say it, Kamala's sister's actually pretty, and
Is that who that was? Because I did
a
think
very
that-
pretty woman. Yeah, that woman right there.
Holy cow. Are you sure that's his sister?
That's her sister. Yeah, she's pretty, correct?
I'd like to get her.
And he'd run her for president.
But now I'm being shallow and mean, but there's something unappealing about Kamala Harris, I think.
I think she looks
Oh yeah, she's perfectly attractive, but there's something in her vibe that looks fake to me. Man, they printed all those signs fast.
They did do that, I think, in March when they were.
Well, that's exactly right. When they called the CNN anchors together and told them the plan after the debate.
You're not saying it because they know their signs are saying applause.
Right.
But it would be hard.
And they're not turning them off yet.
Let me start by thanking my most incredible husband, Doug,
That's
for
Doug.
being an incredible partner to me, an incredible
Partner.
father to Cole and Ella. And happy anniversary, Dougie.
Yes.
I love you so very much. To our President Joe Biden.
Wherever he may be. He's not allowed to be here tonight.
When I think about the path that we have traveled together, Joe, I am filled with gratitude. Your record is extraordinary, as history will show, and your character is inspiring. And Doug and I love you and Jill, and I'm forever thankful to you both. And to Coach Tim Walls, you are going to be an incredible vice president. And to the delegates and everyone who has put your faith in our campaign, your support is humbling. So, America, the path that led me here in recent weeks was no doubt unexpected. But I'm no stranger to unlikely journeys. So, my mother, our mother, Kamala Harris, had one of her own. And I miss her every day, and especially right now. And I know she's looking down smiling. I know that. So my mother was 19 when she crossed the world alone, traveling from India to California with an unshakable dream to be the scientist who would cure breast cancer.
I
When
said she did come up with a
finished
cure, but
school,
they wouldn't let it come on the market.
to a traditional arranged marriage. But as fate would have it, she met my father, Donald Harris, a student from Jamaica. They fell in love and got married, and that act of self-determination made my sister Maya and me.
Self-determination.
Growing up, we moved a lot. I will always remember that big Mayflower truck packed with all our belongings, ready to go to Illinois, to Wisconsin, and wherever our parents' jobs took us. My early memories of
Probably
our
never lived
parents
in any of
together
those
are very
places.
joyful ones. A home filled with laughter and music, Aretha, Coltrane, and Miles. At the park, my mother would say, "Stay close." But my father would say,
Run,
as a
Kamala,
son,
run.
"Run, Kamala, run. Don't
Your
be
mom's
afraid.
crazy."
Don't let anything stop
Like
you."
you.
You're a nut.
There's something so fraudulent about this.
In my earliest years, he taught me to be fearless. But the harmony between my parents did not last. When I was in elementary school, they split up. And it was mostly my mother who raised us.
Oh, I thought she was gonna say it's mostly my mother's fault.
She rented a small apartment in the East Bay.
Could have been.
In the Bay. In
Well,
the
it's
Bay.
like, it's like her craziness has to come from
In
somewhere.
the hills or the flatlands, we lived in the flats. A beautiful working class neighborhood of firefighters, nurses, and construction workers. All who tended their lawns with pride. My mother,
Except that her lawn was grown up knee high.
and like many working parents, she leaned on a trusted servant to help raise us. Mrs. Shelton, who ran the daycare below us and became a second mother. Uncle Sherman, Aunt Mary, Uncle Freddie, Auntie Chris. None of them family by blood, and all of them family by love.
Reminds me of Hillary Clinton's
Family
"It Takes a Village to
taught us
Raise a
how to make
kid."
gumbo, how to to play chess.
No wonder she's messed up.
And sometimes even let us win.
Who knows what all those people did to her?
Family who loved us, believed in us, and told us we could be anything and do anything. They instilled in
Imagine
us
her mom
the
just
values
banding her
of
on it with whoever would take her.
community, faith, and the importance of
Uncle
treating
Joe.
others
Snippy.
as you want
Snippy Joe.
Snippy Joe.
with kindness, respect, and compassion. My mother was a brilliant, 5-foot-tall, brown woman with an accent. And as the eldest child, I saw how the world would sometimes treat her.
She talks through.
But my mother never lost her cool. She was tough, courageous, a trailblazer in the fight for women's health.
They
And
say
she
she's
taught
trying to
Ryan
talk
me
like
a lesson
Southern
that Michelle mentioned the other
Georgia
night.
during
She
the
taught
civil
us
rights era.
to never complain,
That this
about
isn't her normal
injustice.
accent.
but do something about it. Do something about it. That was my mother. And she taught us, and she also taught us,
Was that your girl that you
she
want?
also taught us, and never do anything
No.
half-assed.
No, that wasn't.
Amelie?
And that is a direct quote.
Look like her.
A direct quote. I grew up immersed in the ideals of the civil rights movement. My parents had met at a civil rights gathering, and they
Yeah,
made
right.
sure that we learned about civil rights leaders, including the lawyers like Thurgood Marshall and Constance Baker Motley.
Yeah, right. They were all there at the
Those who
same
battled
rally.
in the courtroom to make real the promise of America. So, at a young age,
One thing I learned about psychopaths, they live a life that never
and when it
existed.
came time to choose the type of law I would pursue, I reflected on a pivotal moment in my life. You see, when I was in high school, I started to notice something about my best friend Wanda. She was sad at school, and there were times she didn't want to go home.
Their life was so sad
So
they
one
have to
day
come
I
up with
asked
a
if
life
everything was all right.
that's
And
exciting.
she confided in me that she was being sexually abused by her stepfather.
And that's
And
a
I
trademark of a
immediately told her
psychopath.
she had to come stay with us, and she did. This is one of the reasons I became a prosecutor.
Oh, I thought she was
To
going to say a
protect people
prostitute.
like that.
It's almost a Freudian slip. A prostitute to William Brown and who was the talk show host.
As a prosecutor, when I had a case,
Oprah.
No.
I charged
Okay, can we stop for a second here? So, can I just give you my thoughts?
Williams.
Yeah.
First of all, she's more appealing than
Is it
Hillary.
Montel Williams?
No,
You know,
Oh,
if that's
yeah.
no question about it.
not a high bar. But
Not a high bar. But they
she
should
was
be
in their
afraid of
scare
her.
room.
You know, normal people should be afraid of her. She's actually got
This is scary.
her shtick fine-tuned a little more than I thought that she would. And so I think she's probably a little more formidable.
But she's good at reading off the teleprompter.
Two other
that's for
points.
sure.
She begins by thanking Joe Biden and then sort of eliding into the current state of affairs by saying, I kind of never expected to be here. But she never explained, like, how did you get to be the nominee? I still have no idea, honestly. Was it some kind of online vote or something because the donors wanted it? I mean, I do think at some point she has to explain, how did I become, with not one person going to a single primary and voting for me, how did I become the nominee? And the third thing I noticed was that in her sort of not terrible explanation of her childhood, and parents seem nice or whatever, they're both immigrants, she from India, he from Jamaica, but she says that her mother was lecturing her about injustice and the civil rights movement. What? You came to the United States at 19 to become a doctor, to become a
Right.
research scientist apparently. What injustice did you suffer exactly? You come from a poor country to a rich country, to a subsidized higher education system, and you become a scientist, and like you're the victim of what exactly? Or
Yeah, right.
and what is that with the civil rights movement? I mean, it's not an attack on Kamala Harris to say she's got nothing to do with civil rights movement. She's not from an American family.
she's lying, of course.
Yeah.
And again, you don't immigrate to the land of opportunity at 19 years old by yourself, a woman, if you think, man, I'm walking into some shithole and I'm going to face all this discrimination. A 19-year-old woman says, hey, I'm going to travel overseas to live, pick up by myself because, man, this place is terrible. I'm not buying that.
Well, and the accent, and just like laying claim to a history that's not hers. This with this like fake Southern accent. She's from the East Bay of San Francisco, but she really grew up in Canada, in Quebec and Montreal, and that was just fine. I'm not attacking her for it, but like, how did she wind up with a sort of 1962 civil rights movement accent from Alabama? Like, what is this? This is too fake for me.
It's all part of the power of the black identity, black worship, and the only thing you have to really do to be black is promote the victimhood narrative. And so if you're a victim, that makes you black. And if you promote the fact that everybody black is a victim and everybody of color is a victim, you now get to claim you're black. That's the black identity, victimhood. And it empowers you. It makes you a special person. It makes you a magical, to quote Russell, magical Negro, Barack the magical Negro. That's why he claims it. That's why Michelle claims it. That's why Oprah Winfrey yesterday, she's worth $3 billion. She's up there talking about all the racism she encountered.
But okay, so Oprah Winfrey is American. Michelle Obama is American. Barack Obama is not American. His mother was American from Kansas. But Kamala Harris, I mean, Jamaicans are not Americans, A. B, not oppressed, and except they're actually very successful in the United States. Caribbeans in general, I think, make more than native-born whites. Close, anyway. They're successful, they're entrepreneurial. They're not part of the history of racism and slavery in the United States. Just the opposite. They just showed up here. So, like, this is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, but she's telling the lie that gives her the most power, and people are falling for it. And because again, it's a religion. It operates on faith, not facts.
No, you're right. You're right. All right. I had to let that out. Let's dip back in.
I stood up for women and children against predators who abuse them. As Attorney General of California, I took on the big banks, delivered $20 billion for middle-class families who faced foreclosure, and helped pass a homeowner Bill of Rights, one of the first of its kind in the nation. I stood up for veterans and students being scammed by big for-profit colleges, for workers who are being cheated out of their wages, the wages they were due, for seniors facing elder abuse. I fought against the cartels who traffic in guns and drugs and human beings, who threaten the security of our border and the safety of our communities. And I will tell you, these fights were not easy. And neither were the elections that put me in those offices. We were underestimated at practically every turn. But we never gave up, because the future is always worth fighting for. And that's the fight we are in right now, a fight for America's future.
Yeah. Sure. Mm-hmm.
Fellow Americans, this election is not only the most important of our lives, it is one of the most important in the life of our nation. In many ways, Donald Trump is an unserious man. But the consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious. last election. Donald Trump tried to throw away your votes. When he failed, he sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol where they assaulted law enforcement officers.
Armed? They weren't
When
armed. What the hell is she talking about?
In his own party begged him to call off the mob and send help, he did the opposite. He fanned the flames. And now, for an entirely different set of crimes, he was found guilty of fraud by a jury of everyday Americans and separately found liable for committing sexual abuse. And consider what he intends to do if we give him power again. Consider his explicit intent to set free violent extremists who assaulted those law enforcement officers at the Capitol. His explicit intent to jail journalists, political opponents, and anyone he sees as the enemy.
Can I just interject here for a second? This woman's really scary. She could easily get elected president. She's much more skillful than I have ever seen. She's a liar on the deepest level. The things she is saying right now are not just untrue, they're the opposite of the truth, which is the hallmark of evil. She's an extremist. She'll say anything. She's much more like Gavin Newsom than I ever realized. I can go through a whole litany of why what she's saying is not true. It wasn't an armed mob. There's not one person inside the Capitol with a firearm, period. The only person who shot in the Capitol was an armed woman shot by one of Nancy Pelosi's bodyguards. So again, she's telling us that she fought the cartels to secure the border. She's the border czar, and the border is controlled by the cartels.
She argued that Donald Trump, quote, tried to throw away your votes. Didn't the Democrat Party just throw away all the votes and install her?
Well, exactly. She's saying that Donald Trump will free from prison violent extremists, meaning like 75-year-old lower middle class women with diabetes, when she endorsed defunding the police and opening the prisons to allow actual criminals out, which is why the crime rate has spiked, to allow the population of Venezuela's prisons, Caracas's prisons, are now living in the United States because of her. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, and I don't want to sound like I'm whining or fact-checking, which I hate, but what she's saying is the mirror image of the truth. She doesn't care. She's got no reference points in the truth, and she's an extremist. And she's a former prosecutor, and no former prosecutor should hold power, period. I've covered them my whole life. I've intensely disliked every single one of them for good reason. I think they're scary, they're liars, and they're megalomaniacal. And they put people in prison for political reasons. I've seen it again and again and again, and she's one of them. And people will go to prison. Trump wants to jail journalists. I have friends who are journalists. One of them's in prison now for thought crimes under her administration. So it's sorry, we can go back.
Childcare for our children. America, we are not going back. And we are charting a new way forward. Forward to a future with a strong and growing middle class, because we know a strong middle class has always been critical to America's success. And building that middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency. And I'll tell you, this is personal for me. The middle class is where I come from. My mother kept a strict budget. We lived within our means, yet we wanted for little. And she expected us to make the most of the opportunities that were available to us and to be grateful for them. Because, as she taught us, opportunity is not available to everyone. That's why we will create what I call an opportunity economy, an opportunity economy where everyone has the chance to compete and a chance I will bring together labor and workers and small business owners and entrepreneurs and American companies to create jobs, to grow our economy, and to lower the cost of everyday needs like healthcare and housing and groceries. We will provide access to capital for small business owners and entrepreneurs and founders. And we will end America's housing shortage and protect Social Security and Medicare.
I'm sorry, I can't control myself again. We're going to end America's housing shortage? You just let in over 10 million people illegally, and you put them all on housing vouchers and food stamps and gave them free plane tickets and free cell phones. They all have to live somewhere. You caused America's housing shortage. If you care about the cost of housing, limit the population. Certainly don't expand it through uncontrolled immigration through open borders. Which is exactly what they did. She's responsible for it. And her donors at BlackRock are buying up the houses in your neighborhood. And her donors at Airbnb are turning your neighborhood into a completely unmanageable garbage, a place filled with transients where there's no social connection at all between people. Those are her donors. Those are her policies. For her to lecture us on the housing shortage that she caused it's almost too much. I can't sit here.
Made a suggestion, I think, in the past week about taxing unrealized capital gains included on your house. So no, she's not going to. That's not her job.
The housing, this is like very simple math. There's a certain number of houses we're capable of building a certain number more each year. And if you flood the country with new people, poor people, you are going to have a housing crisis. You're going to have a crunch. There are more people than there are available houses. And so houses become more expensive for native-born Americans. Like, it's that simple. It's supply and demand. And whatever, if you're Kamala Harris, you just ignore that. But she doesn't ignore it. She acts like Trump caused it somehow, and she's going to fix it. It's like bewildering to me.
There's a boldness to what they're doing in terms of they accuse Trump of everything they're doing. They say Trump's going to do it. Now, we're the actually people doing it, but we're going to tell you that
What
Trump's
is that?
It's
the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I've lied in my life. When I'm cornered or caught doing something I'm embarrassed of, I lie.
It's projection.
But I've never in my life, it's never even
It's a
occurred to
sign
me
of a
to accuse the
psychopath.
person who caught me doing something wrong of doing the thing that I'm doing wrong. I've never even thought of that before. What is that?
It's chess. It's brilliant strategy. It's
Right.
It's a great deflection.
It's Harley Quinn.
Propaganda.
Thinking,
it blinds people.
waving a
And-
wow.
'cause they're looking in the wrong direction. This person's telling me that person is no different. Like, hey, that group over there, they're racist. Now we think you black people can't compete with us, so we must lower all standards so you can compete. So we're gonna do something racist, but we're gonna tell you they're the racists.
And you're absolutely right. No, you're absolutely right. We're so marinating in deception that it's hard sometimes to see it. Sorry, we can go back to Kamala Harris.
Ban medication abortion and enact a nationwide abortion ban with or without Congress. And get this, he plans to create a national anti-abortion coordinator and force states to report on women's miscarriages and abortions. Simply put, they are out of their minds.
Melody, are yours.
And one must ask, why exactly is it that they don't trust women? Well, we trust women. We trust women. And when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedom, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. In this election, many other fundamental freedoms are at stake. The freedom to live safe,
I'm surprised they don't crucify the guy holding the baby.
And what?
Places of
The
worship.
guy holding the baby. I'm
The
surprised they
freedom
don't
to love who
crucify
you
him.
love openly and
They don't believe in
with
having
pride.
babies.
The freedom to breathe clean air and drink clean water and live free from the pollution that fuels the climate crisis. And the freedom that unlocks all the others, the freedom to vote. With this election, we finally have the opportunity to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the Freedom to Vote Act.
They should be very afraid of this woman. Very afraid. And anyone who's telling you that she's a moron, playing those clips that I played for years on Fox, if we're stumbling through her school bus talk or trying to explain where Ukraine is, you know, and dismissing her as a buffoon. She's not a buffoon, she's a demagogue. She's actually surprisingly slick and composed, which makes her a lot scarier. She's the female Gavin Newsom. They're from the same state. They didn't win any elections. It's a one-party state. They were chosen by the unions in California and installed in those jobs. There is no democracy in California. It's fake, and anyone from there can tell you that. This woman is a product of machine politics in a one-party state. That's her attitude, and she's absolutely capable of winning. That's the takeaway from this for me.
She's capable of winning. I think she's capable of being carried across the finish
Yes,
line.
that's right.
And, you know, they have a system in place to manipulate voting and all that. And again, they think, and maybe they're right, that they dumb down America enough that this, what they're putting out there, all this symbolism and all the celebrities are with us, and people that are normal, let's call them weird. That's another little, their mind trick of, you know, they're making normal behavior seem weird, and they're the normal people.
Yeah, if that Walls guy is calling anyone weird, I get the strongest creepy vibes off that guy.
Obviously.
Yeah, obviously, that guy's a freak, and I can just smell it. Anyway, if he's calling anyone weird, but the point is, I think anyone running against this woman should take her seriously, should think very carefully about how to oppose and expose her, and not imagine that she's going to be easily spanked in a debate.
You follow elections closer and longer than I have. That have elections always been this focused on, hey, you should like this person, you should dislike this person, rather than a conversation that's devoid of policy conversation?
No, not at all, and I'm hardly an expert on elections. I usually call them wrong. So, but with that caveat, I've certainly been around them my whole life. I was at Reagan's last rally in 1980 at the Del Mar racetrack. So yeah, I've been to a lot of political events, and no, up until back when it was a functioning, well-educated country, politicians did. Fritz Mondale in '84 made, a real case for his tax program, for example. Even Mike Dukakis in '88, Bill Clinton made policy arguments like, vote for me and you'll get this, and here's how I'm going to give it to you. I didn't believe them, but he made those arguments. This is just slogan after. This is a TikTok level speech.
But it's really just like, hey, he's a bad guy, I'm a good person, vote. And that's all they're offering, and you can't get me to buy that she's a good person just based off of just geography. She's a San Francisco politician. When I go look at San Francisco, that's not what I want for the rest of the country. And so the argument that I was making on your show 10 years ago is like, hey, the whole left has been hijacked by San Francisco. These are no longer New York liberals. Trump is a New York liberal. She's a San Francisco liberal. They're revolutionary. And this whole, whoever it was earlier got there and said that, Democrats it was Kissinger, they're just as patriotic as Republicans. I'm like, well, hold on, this party wants to rewrite the Constitution. How?
Impact the Supreme Court.
Yeah. How are they?
Well, they hate the country. They
Yes.
degraded the country.
Yeah.
They hate its history. They hate its culture. They hate its people. That's why they're replacing them.
She was raising money for the people that were burning and looting the country, all during the summer of George Floyd and all that other stuff. This group hates America. Says its founding was wrong. They've rewritten history. They paid another delusional woman of mixed race heritage, Hannah Nicole Jones and Nicole Hannah Jones from the New York, to rewrite the entirety of American history, backed by the New York Times. These aren't accidents. These aren't coincidences.
No.
Who is Hannah Nicole Jones? Mixed breed, half black, half white woman. What are her credentials? How did she get elected to rewrite the entirety of American history, frame America as founded in racism and it started in 16? She rewrote the whole thing. Who is she? Other than she gets away, it's a black woman. Don't question.
Well, she's a
Give her
tool,
the
she's a
surprise.
tool of others, of course. So Kamala Harris just said, I could hear my ear, that if elected president, she will secure the border. So, like, imagine the balls required. You know, again, I've told lies, and I'm sure I will again. I really try not to, but I'm sure I will be weak and lie about something to somebody at some point. But if I ever told a lie like that was precisely the opposite of the truth, I mean, I'd be worried about getting struck by lightning or something. A normal person can't lie like that. So I'm gonna secure the border? She's the border czar, and we have an open border. Like, what?
They have. I'm literally just thinking this in real time. Politics was a game of football, contact scores,
I like that word.
real consequences. They've turned it into gymnastics. There's some judges that we don't really understand, and they score things and say this person was better than that person. And it's very subjective, and that's what this is. If they're putting on a 4-day concert tour show, how do we make you feel? She's an attractive woman. She's speaking in complete sentences, and this looks better, feels better. Just go with that. And I'm so afraid for all of us, and most of I've never voted, Tucker. I'm gonna vote, and it's primary. The number I literally just came to this conclusion yesterday, 2 days ago, an interview with Eric Metaxas, where I was just like, hey man, if Trump doesn't get elected, those people on January 6th are gonna sit in prison for God knows how long. He's our only hope to pardon these people and free them. And it just helped me just understand, like, man, these consequences are so real. And the other thing that just, it's like people don't understand why, even with his flaws are actually good things for us in this time. And I know that sounds delusional, or it sounds like I'm just caping up for Trump, but I'm not. Who was it? Yeah, Michelle Obama, the affirmative action of generational wealth. And everybody loves it because we're all prone to not liking the rich kid. Someone like me that grew up poor, the rich kid, blah, blah. But in this instance, the rich kid, the reason we didn't like him is because, hey, he's kind of uncontrollable. He does whatever he wants because, his daddy can cover for him and the consequences don't matter. And it just so happens we're in a time in history where we need a rich kid who's uncontrollable.
Well, sure.
And so her generational wealth it just landed flat with me. It's like, and she probably does understand, but like the audience doesn't understand, is that that's why Trump is valuable, because he is the rich kid that's uncontrollable. It's why, and I apologize for saying this without warning you, but it's just like me trying to understand how you got where you're at. Why are you uncontrollable? And you grew up a rich kid, you were probably a little uncontrollable as a kid, and that's just part of your nature.
Well, I've been around all these people my whole life, and they don't have anything that I want, and I know them, and I know what they're like. I know what a scam this whole thing is, and because I lived in DC for 35 years, and so none of this is mysterious to me, and I concluded through experience that it was mostly fake, and I was shocked by that and angered by that. And so they're not going to fool me because I live there. I know what this is. It's a lie. And I'm just completely sick of it. Completely sick of it. My kids are grown and I don't have a mortgage. Like, I just don't care. You know what I mean?
Yes. And that's why I'm looking at Trump in terms of he's old, in terms of like, you reach an age and you have enough memories where you're like, you know what? If I died, I can't say life was unfair to me.
Yeah.
And Trump is clearly there. Like, he can't say life was unfair. His youngest son is 18, 19 years old,
Yes.
I believe. You know, it would be terrible if he left. And I know that, but he's like, nah, I look around, my kids are good.
Yes.
And life has been very fair to me. You know, I'm willing to take this risk.
I agree.
And then you got the uncontrollable streak in him. And that's why, and you can look, and she's unpacking, yeah, I grew up poor and I did this and did that. You know what that screams to me is like, you can be easily compromised because you want all this power and wealth,
Yes.
and you'll do anything for it. He's already had it. He's so used to it. He just doesn't care about it nearly as much as she does. And it's not that I'm against the underdog, because I'm certainly one. And my mother was a factory worker. My dad didn't graduate high school. I'm pro underdog. But right now, we have so many compromised politicians, so many politicians willing to cut a deal for their own personal gain, that the little underdog story and I came from nothing, it just doesn't ring.
Well, also in her case, it's basically fraudulent. I mean, her parents were college professors.
Yes.
I mean, they're not rich. That's true. But to get an oppression lecture from the daughter of foreign-born college professors is too much. Like, I just can't deal with it. Like, it's just too fake. All right, I think she's wrapping up. Oh, there she is wrapping up.
Well, credit to her.
Well, we missed a lot of what she said. So,
We'll catch it over Twitter.
wait. So, yeah. I'm kind of glad we missed a lot of it. It was what we heard was enough. So, what would be your summation, your final thoughts on this?
I'll go back to where I began at the beginning. This is a religious cult of racial idolatry and abortion. And
There you go.
it's a celebration of the matriarchy and female leadership.
Yeah.
And
Transgender religion.
it's
You got
a
climate
group of
religion.
people that will sacrifice all of our freedoms for the belief they'll be more safe, and they're going to be shocked at how unsafe they are and how little freedom they have if we continue down this path. Because those of you in this arena, you're going to get shit on just like everybody else. And I will say, what is sad though is I think some people are getting so normalized with their lack of freedom that they won't even know what they're giving up. And that's what is really scary to me. But they'll figure the next pandemic they orchestrate, and if they ever take our guns away from us, they'll be shoving those needles in you at gunpoint, and you'll be wishing you hadn't given up your guns. You wish you hadn't fallen for this BS.
Jason Whitlock, I can't add a single word or punctuation mark to that summary of what we just saw. I agree with all of it, unfortunately. And I really appreciate you taking all this time.
Awesome. Glad to be here. Loved your studio. You gave me some ideas. I'm remodeling or I'm renovating the house, putting the studio in it. Won't be this big, but
Well, this is a barn.
Yeah.
We actually have dinner at this table, so my recommendation to you is do it from your kitchen table. Wherever you're comfortable is the best place.
I'm trying to stay away from my kitchen.
Me too. Tell me about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that looks like that concludes our show. So I made all the comments I wanted to make whenever we were watching it, so I'm not going to make any more. So with that, we'll conclude our show. See you next time on The Way to the Truth Cast is what I call the news. Nothing but the truth.